Hi guys, this is Anna Kipnis. I'm a senior gameplay programmer at Double Fine. I was also lead gameplay on Broken Age.
Hi, I'm Tim Schafer, and I worked on this game too.
I'm Gabe Sinkopami, and I had nothing to do with this game.
But you are an experienced writer,
Yes.
scriptor at
I have written on a
Double
few
Fine
other
Productions.
titles at Double Fine.
What titles were those, Gabe?
I wrote Middle Manager of Justice and Costume Quest 2.
And DLC, the Costume Quest DLC.
Yeah, and a little
Robin's
bit on
on
the
Ice.
first Costume Quest.
Mm-hmm.
And I also got to direct Gabe's writing on Dear Leader.
Oh yeah, I wrote for Dear Leader.
Dear Leader.
So this episode has a lot of stuff about writing. You saw me in my notebook there. I was free writing. And I didn't start that until the day after the Kickstarter ended, which a lot of people couldn't believe we had done.
And you have a notebook for every game, right?
I mean, I have them. You can see them on the shot of my desk because they just stack up. I just fill one out and then I get a new one, and so they're not exactly one per game.
Gabe has a really great memory of a not safe for work segment of your Brutal Legend notebook that he would like to share with you.
Wait, my Brutal Legend notebook? Did you?
Yeah, I remember we were in a meeting on Brutal Legend, and you were showing me your notebook, and in the little margin you had a picture of Daviculus talking to Eddie, and a word bubble, and he said, "I f***ed your mom."
That did not make it into the game that I know.
It did.
Of.
I mean, he
it
did.
Oh, okay.
The spirit
No,
of that.
wait. Diviculus. Well, it's not canon. It's not in the game. I hope no children are watching this. Children don't care about this.
They can bleep it.
That's Tim Turry from.
Speaking of
Game of Thrones.
children who are watching this, although not a child does, you know, I heard from Eric Walpa today, actually.
Speaking of children, is that what you're saying?
Who watched this? No, Eric Walpa, the excellent
Speaking of writers.
writer. Speaking of writers, and he, of course, wrote with you on Psychonauts, and he is very well known for writing Portal and all these other games anyway, so I didn't really get a chance to talk to him about what he thought in depth, but he
was too busy talking about how great he was at writing and how he worked on Portal.
pretty much.
Yeah, that's mostly how our time is spent together, too.
But he said he really liked the documentary. But I just thought I've had the amazing fortune of working with a lot of writers at Double Fine. In case you might wonder why the hell I'm on this commentary here about writing.
You were on the project also.
I was
Wired
on
up all the
project.
dialogue.
Yeah, coincidentally.
Oh, that's the day I got my PS Vita.
And you often act as editor.
They're the notebooks. See the
Yes.
dates on them? They're just dated.
Started a new notebook and it's already covered with stickers.
Stickers. I think that shot was cheated. I don't know if I actually reached for the notebook right at that moment.
And the first page is me.
Can I say things
You
like
haven't
that?
aged
Paul?
a bit.
I have to.
You look like that basically right now.
Well, you'll watch me age a lot on this, but then go back. I get a lot younger in the middle of it, and then I get older again because I lose a bunch of weight and then I gain a bunch of weight.
Oh, you did your juice fast in
Yeah, I
the
did
middle,
my juice
right?
fast.
Yeah.
So I look like 5 years younger, and then
Every morning and lock myself
stacking
in my
rules.
office.
That was a little sign for the stacking dolls.
Do
things.
free writing.
Oh, man.
Tim,
So I have a question since I haven't worked on the game.
But I,
Yes,
Like,
sir.
where did the idea come from?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked.
Yeah.
way of getting past
From free writing. Actually, I
it's very intimidating.
the idea of, I think it was near the end of Psychonauts. I was watching King Kong and thinking about, you always think what you'd do if you were in the character in the movie. Like,
As King Kong or as
as
the,
Fay Ray, I was like, what would I do if I was strapped to like a sacrificial altar and King Kong was coming? Like, you couldn't get out of it? You could just kick him in the nose. Like, what would you do? And then what would happen if you did get away from King Kong? Like, the villagers would be mad because you messed up the whole sacrifice. They'd come after you or something. And I started thinking about the story of a girl who was supposed to be sacrificed. And I remember I pitched it. I said this is when I was also thinking about Brutal Legend, but I was thinking about this other story. And I pitched it to, I think, Caroline. It was like the first, because she was in my office. I was waiting, but she just stared at me like, huh. Like she was thinking about something else. Like she was thinking about something else, and just like, that thing, when you have a little nebulous, soft-shelled idea in your brain, the first person you tell it to is so important because if they don't freak out, I just tend to like shelve it for years. So that's what happened. She was just kind of like thinking about something else, and went, huh? And I was like, that's a terrible idea. And I put
that
it
was
away.
like 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
It was a long time
And then independent from that, I've always loved stories of people being isolated with technology, like silent running, or what's the Solaris movie? Just super smart spaceships. I love like 2001, like super smart spaceships that take care of you.
Like Moon.
Like Moon, yeah, Moon. Like even like this thing David Letterman said once about his. I love when it's late at night and you're reading and you hear your ice machine just chunk over like a bunch of ice into the bucket and you're like, here's my ice machine, making more ice for Dave. Like it's just that feeling of technology taking care of you. It just has always been really interesting to me. And so when I started this, so you can see me there writing my notebook. Oh, that's my old grim notebook. But I started free writing and I was like, the first thing I did is like, God, I have to come up with a new idea. Do I have any ideas that I've always wanted to do? And I started writing them all down, like listening to all the things that have been buzzing around my head for years. And I started thinking about the technology idea and the sacrifice girl idea. And then I had that idea for like the thing that would be the spoiler at the end of Act 1. Like, oh my God, these could be the same story, like wrapped around each other. And that's often what happens is like you have one idea and it just never clicks in your mind for years, and another idea that doesn't click, and then you realize they're the same. Because like Brutal Legend was also like, I had this roadie story and I had this heavy metal RTS. No, I had the roadie heavy metal story and I had the demon RTS game, and like I just realized they could be the same thing. So that's for me. Often.
That's weird because I thought it had something to do with your daughter. Like I thought you were getting introspective about parenting and starting to think about thoughts about coming of age. And
that is better. Let's go. I think we should go with that one. That's better. Yeah, I wanted to write a game for my daughter. No, but it was years before her.
Well, I think to some extent what you're saying about like technology taking care of you, maybe that idea wouldn't have germinated quite in the same way where it turns out that it is his parents that are doing. I mean, it's true that of course the technology that's on those ships or whatever, even the ice machine, of course, is built by humans. But I think maybe the idea that it turns out to be parents, like actual parents, maybe.
Wolpa.
Oh, there he is.
And
I still haven't met him.
You've never met him?
Really?
No.
That's pretty much what he's like. He's sitting there cutting down my games.
Yeah, the writing was half good.
Making fun of, yeah. He's a funny guy.
And Psychonauts.
And Psychonauts.
Little known fact, Eric Wolpa was also a gameplay programmer on Psychonauts.
Yeah, he did the race scene with
Yeah,
him.
he also was, he and I, he did the first pass of the first dialogue system we ever kind of had.
Yeah, what was that weird language he wrote it in? Fox Plus or something with that? Fox Face?
Oh man,
Some weird database programming language.
Eventually
Fox
did make it
Pro.
into Lua.
Yeah.
And then a lot of the stuff that I wrote for our Buddha engine was cobbled together from like the things that I thought worked really well from Psychonauts. Oh yeah, here's Ron.
This is the interview episode. Now I'm remembering this is me like, okay, if I'm going to do an adventure game, I need to absorb knowledge about them. I want to know I just want to remember what did I like about them, what did I think about when I made them.
There's a lot of star power in this one.
A lot of drop-in, a lot of cameos. I bet the poor documentary guys thought we were going to have cameos every day.
This is where we blew the budget.
Yeah, I remember how much they all charged us. They didn't charge us anything. That's going to totally show up. This starts the sequence of me touching my face more than I should.
Tim, I've always wondered this because, so when you first started in games, you actually worked with writers, kind of more in a capacity that I do to this day, I suppose.
As a scumlet?
Because Ron was a writer when you started, was he
But
not?
we all wrote and programmed our own sections.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
So Ron was not as controlling as I am. He let every programmer write their own dialogue, and I've always meant to do that, but I haven't gotten around to it. But we all just like, Ron was working on the Ghost Ship, and he programmed the dialogue. Look, that's what he looked like when we did it.
Oh, wow.
And then I was working on Dave was doing Herman Toothrot, and I was doing the Villagers or something like that. So we would actually, the dialogue right into the code. Yeah. So we never worked with writers. There was a Orson Scott Card game and consulted on Monkey Island for a while, and he wrote like the insult sword fighting stuff original, the first draft of that. Or his son said later to me that he actually did it. But he was like 11 at the time.
Ghostwriting?
He said he came up with the dairy farmer line. His 11-year-old son. But yeah, we used writers, like outside writers on like Master Chalice.
Sure.
But yeah, I was writing a post. That's the one post I still have to get done for the DFA backers, is that talking about the technology of writing. Because a lot of people want to know if there's some solution to writing interactive dialogue that helps you actually write it like it's interactive. And look, we've got the blue blanket on the table just like we have right now.
Yeah.
Look at that. Hey, people who can't see us right now, we have a blue blanket right now.
A short hair key.
I'm sitting in the exact same position on the table as I am in the video, and I'm touching the table just like I am. And I wish I had that glass of water because I'm kind of thirsty.
I'm sitting in the JP position.
Yeah.
I'm off camera at the moment.
Yeah. Look at that short-haired guy.
Yeah.
So, I was saying some brilliant thing about writing. But
About the technology of writing.
Oh, because people, and I used to think this too, like, how am I going to write an interactive dialogue? And, and if I write it out on paper, it won't be interactive. I need some device so I can actually write a text and then click on it and then show the branches and write the branches and write the conditionals and have it like this. Imagine this tool that I've never had. I think probably someone has written by now, but. I mean, maybe it's just like you could do that now in Twine or something like that.
I could probably do a tool for you because I know what your writing is like.
But and you and I now have a shorthand about how to write that kind of stuff. So mostly I just write it to the script.
Yeah.
Like, say this one once. Say that this turns on if he says this other line. Like this,
Right.
there's certain things that you just tend to do over and over again. So. But what the point of this article, just to blow the point of this article, I was going to show some examples of how I used to write it directly into Scum, and how then I wrote it into the database, and how I wrote it in Excel documents, and how I've written it into just Google Docs, and there's no one big text solution.
On Specs, we use Scrumptious, our production tool.
Yeah, exactly. You
Did
use
you
whatever
really?
you're most comfortable with, and so you, as a creator of Scrumptious, of course.
Yeah.
And I learned that, like, first of all, the technology is not important. Just the writing is the main thing. Any technology can do it. But then also that I like the system we have now that actually is dependent on human beings. That you're in the chain, and Melina's in the chain, Chris Brown's in the chain, and that I write something that goes through all those hands because every human being along the way finds either a proofreading error or logical error or a character error. Like you'll say, like, it's weird that the mom feels this way in this line, but here she says this. Like, that's good feedback. And then Melina will be like, you said the mom said this line, but I think it should be Shay. Like, she will catch things, Chris Brown will catch things, you'll catch things. So, like,
it's like a rock tumbler. You get a smooth stone at the end.
It takes a month, and it's boring to wait for. You know what I mean? Like, and it's all smooth and beautiful. But I mean, I think that actually we came up with a system that's actually a lot more. It's not all slick and automated, but because all those, it seems like inefficient because a lot of human hands have to touch it. But I think each human hand adds something to the writing that makes it better in the end. You know what I'm saying? Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. Actually, well, the thing I wanted to say is that in spite of how organic it is, actually, when I get a script from you, I can give you that feedback in part because you've actually thought of pretty much everything. Like in contrast to like some writers that I worked with in the past who, not you, Gabe, by the way, I'm not currently present, but like writers.
I assumed not.
Yeah. Writers who just, I'm not Eric Walpa or like whatever, but writers who just had never written for games before and don't understand kind of like what it is that you have to, like the silent space you have to fill out, and the amount of variation you need if you're going to have recorded dialogue and things like that. I've had to actually structure, I've had to actually for Costume Quest when we were working on the DLC, I wrote a bunch of temp dialogue just so you had an idea of what a mission structure would be like. And then once you got the hang of it, like I never had to do that again. But it was interesting to actually come up with the technologies where you kind of like just throw something together in the game. And I thought that this would be quite similar actually to your experience with Scum. Because that's kind of what you did. Like you would write something and then it didn't work, so you would kind of figure out the best system. But now, after long training of that, you can now just come up with in any format whatsoever. You'll come up with a script and it'll just be perfect, and it'll like.
Perfect.
Well, I mean, it'll be very good. Like you'll have accounted for so many things, including like anything from the logic and dialogue trees to. Idle chatter and things like that. Like it'll really work well first time around, which is crazy because I remember there were times on Psychonauts where we didn't quite get that have that right, and we would have to like come up with radiuses and radii, I guess, and things like that to shut off certain parts to make it work better.
I mean, some things do come with experience of just knowing how those things are going to fit together, and also the mistakes you've made in the past. You're like, oh, I'll cover that.
How did you find writing
Oh, look,
Broken
the first
Age?
shot in the game in the notebook. Sorry, what?
How did you find writing Broken Age versus the past projects you've done?
I mean, it was similar in that I started here with the notebook, See, I'm making an effort to talk about the documentary, even though ignore the documentary this whole time. I hope the listeners don't mind that we're not talking about what's in the shot. We missed all those celebrities that came by.
There's bracelets on the lamp.
Yeah. I wrote in the notebook first, and then I would write into like a Google Doc, and I would share it with everybody, and then Melina would import it. There's some technical differences. Like I used to import my own dialogue on Brutal and Psychonauts, and here I just had Melina help me with that. And the writing, let's see, it was different. The tone was really different, like more emotional, I think, than some of the other games, or more sincere.
Is that because you've matured?
No, I mean, I don't think so. I don't
No,
think I
he
have.
hasn't.
I haven't. I just feel like everything kind of, like games tell you what they want to be, and like this game, like it seemed like the characters, that's how they wanted to talk. Like in Brutal Legend, they needed a certain amount of,
Did you have a
metal.
favorite character to write?
In Broken Age?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Like there's some that just come so fat. Like in Psychonauts, like the G-men in Psychonauts just kind of write themselves and are so fun because they write in these one-liners that just like I can write a million of these. These are like this is really easy. Some of the characters are harder. Like in when someone's I think trying to be sincere and emotional, it's always harder because it can be boring if you don't do it right, or it can be overly sappy, or it can be insincere and snarky if you do it wrong. So like. The mom was pretty challenging to get her tone right, and Shay was really challenging because we relied a lot on Elijah to fix that. Was that he not to fix it, but to make sure that landed right because he was so acting so snarky in the beginning. Like he was like so mom, like here computer, like shut up, and like he could have come off as just a big jerk, and he came off as like a little bit of a jerk, but still. You had to not hate him. You had to still be sympathetic with him. And so he was written like in my mind. I'm like, I hope this comes off right because he's like, you're supposed to have empathy for how bored he is, but not have him seem like a spoiled little kid.
Yeah.
And or a little spoiled in the right way. Oh, look how hot I was then with my eyebrows connected.
What a babe.
Yeah.
I think Elijah made
he walked that line and made it just really warm and likable, and I think it didn't have to necessarily come out that way.
Yeah, definitely.
So actors are a big part of the writing process in a way. They'll just like add something to it.
He's just one of those humans in that organic chain.
One of those humans in the big chain of humanity.
A nice product placement for 7-Up.
Pretty much, I'll have to bleep that now. No. So this is this is the writing episode, but also the should we make an adventure game episode? What do you guys think of adventure games now? I have a feeling you guys weren't like big adventure game players.
I was.
Me?
Yeah. Really?
That's all I played.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
And you were not.
The first game I bought was Full Throttle.
Oh, high five.
Oh, wow.
Thanks for
Well,
playing.
one of my
This changes a
favorites.
lot. This probably came up in your job interview. But
Yeah.
That was 800 years ago.
One of my favorite games before I really as like a 14-year-old playing games is actually Leisure Suit Larry, the first one.
Oh, yeah.
And then the reason why I wanted to work at Double Fine was because of Grim Fandango, because I knew you made that. And that was one of my favorite games in college.
But you were not. Well, thank you for playing.
Yeah.
First of all, but you were. Would you call yourself an adventure game player? That you'd played a lot of, like you liked those kind of games because you were.
I thought they were very hard, and I didn't have the patience to figure out the. But also, I was very poor when I was growing up, and so I didn't have the codes. Like I remember Zach McCracken, I would get locked up in jail because I didn't have the wheel that you had to verify, all that stuff. And then I think that kind of put me off adventure games for a while.
They are hard, but they shipped with cheap books.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't afford them. That
Lucas
was
actually
the
made a lot of money off 800 numbers. I mean, this is a whole topic for a whole other commentary, but it did remind me of how hard adventure games are. Like tuning them, and you know how this is. Like you're tuning a puzzle so that it's the same difficulty for everybody in a way. Like no matter how, and it's not about whether the player is dumb or smart. It's about whether the player thinks like you do, or their brain happened to wander down the same path in the forest that yours did when you designed the puzzle. Because if they turn left when you turned right, the puzzle seems unsolvable to them, and they get really mad.
Yeah.
And if they turn the same way you did, it might seem too easy.
Yeah.
Oh wait, this part. Remember this part? No, the beginning of the project. I remember when someone sent this. I was like, these people don't know what they're talking about. The internet is really nice. The internet. Do you remember feeling that way when you saw?
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, everyone's gonna be, all the backers are gonna be like, oh, demanding all this stuff. That guy does kind of look like me. Like demanding, and we're like, no. And right here in the documentary, I'm probably saying like, they don't understand. The backers are all super nice. And I think I would stand by that in saying, our backers were really nice. Our backers really did stand by us all the time, no matter what happened.
Yeah.
In mass, in the majority of them, and actually very very big majority. Like when you actually look, when this whole thing where we split the game in half and had our big our first moment of like real hate mail and stuff like that. We did refunds. We did $400 worth of refunds, and we made $4,000 in new backers.
Yeah.
So it was not like our backers really, almost all of them really stuck with us and were really, really supportive. So I guess that movie with the internet guy who was all angry was true, but it wasn't the backers.
I
other
hadn't
people.
up to that point. I actually I co-founded a game jam based on just people being lovely on the internet. So for
What
me,
was that?
the Molly Jam.
Oh,
They just all the people, because everyone, I got used to the idea that everyone was super funny and really loved funny jokes, and that was my impression of the internet.
Well, I think that is true, but I think a lot of situations we're coming to the end. A lot of situations, the internet, you selected a group of people who were lovely, but it doesn't mean that everybody in every dark corner of the internet is lovely.
True.
Hey, did you guys enjoy this episode? Did you catch any of it?
Oh.
Will Paul was really cool. Did you see that Chris Petrowski from Cappy was there?
Yeah.
Am I saying his name right? And then
Ron?
Super Brothers was there.
Pietrovsky.
What?
Pietrovsky.
Oh yeah.
Petrovsky.
Super Polish. And then Ron was in there. I said Wolf already. That's not my chest.
Whose chest is
That's
that?
Paul Owens. Bye everybody. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
they're just in it for the documentary.
Oh wait, it's not over. God, that was such a strong ending too.
Wait, Gabe, say something.
Something?
The story of us making the game is a different,
Say something about
I couldn't tell which Tim that was at first.
Now, I don't know how long it's gonna last. Maybe I shouldn't.
Now I don't know what to do. I have to think about a solution.
18 more seconds.
Okay. Adventure games are good. I'm glad we made them. Writing is easy. Everyone try free writing. Have you guys ever tried that?
I loved that you didn't write anything until the series started.
Where do you see Broken Age in the pantheon of all your games?
It's obviously the best.